I'm gonna go get more fat while eating this, because this is incredible. Super Bowl food needs to be easy enough to make while you're 3 beers deep. Kansas City meets Philly, round 2, but unlike the game, everybody wins. It's like a participation trophy for your Sunday. We've got some chuck roast for our poor man's burnt ends, because I'm poor. We've got store-bought pretzel bites, because I'm lazy. We got some of the best sharp cheddar in the entire nation. I'm a Wisconsinite. And we've got beer. Do I need to reiterate the fact that I'm from Wisconsin?
We are going to start off with that chuck roast, get that cut out of the packaging, take its skirt off, flip that back over. You do have that fat seam right in the middle, and that's where I like to start the cut, just so I can see what I'm working with right in the middle. As you can see, we do have that big knuckle of fat that I'm going to cut out. You're also going to see me do a finger thing a couple times where I'm actually measuring the size of the meat with my knuckle to knuckle, which is about 1 inch. I said knuckle way too many times there. Anyway, you do want to keep these around the same size. That's why I said 1 inch. So you do want to measure just to make sure that they're somewhat close to the same size. That way you're going to get a better cook, a way more consistent cook. And the product's just going to be better because you're not going to have big ones and small ones that are cooking at different times. From there, you're just going to toss all of those cubes into a bowl that's big enough so that way when you toss in both the sauce and the seasoning, there is room to maneuver them to really get them all sauced up with that binder, to get that seasoning all around all of those cubes, because if it's one thing that you don't want, it's an unseasoned burnt end. It's still going to be tasty, but you want that big amount of seasoning. Click your tongue so you don't die, and get those burnt ends or meat cubes onto a wire rack. I use a wire rack because my smoker's grates are about 1 inch, so I didn't want anything to fall through those grates. I have my smoker set at 250, 225 works perfectly too. Now let's get to that dippy dip. We are using whipped cream cheese. I actually used a couple different flavors here. I used garlic and herb and chive, and then we're going to use a half a small container of that sour cream, a couple tablespoons or a tablespoon of KC combo, 1 ounce or so of pre-cut bacon, some mild chilies just to mix it in there, get a nice peppery flavor. Of course, in a barbecue dip, you're going to use the All-American. And a little bit of that white lightning. I don't show it. I also do use about a tablespoon of Low Country Gold just to get that mustard, just to get that acid in there. I chopped the whites off here and tossed them off the screen. One thing that I'm showing you here is I keep the band on because it actually holds them together and it makes way less work for me. Toss all those tops into the dip and then crack a beer because you know it's 10 a.m. and we're in Wisconsin. I added a couple ounces here. I ended up adding 2 more ounces just because I wanted a thinner consistency. And then I chopped up this sharp cheddar from Schillsburg Creamery. It's so tasty. Cheese tax. Gotta have that cheese tax. Because this is going in the oven, I did do the bigger grater here, more cheese tax, because I know it's gonna melt in the oven, and I just throw that directly into the dip and get it nice and stirred up. Check to see how those burnt ends are doing. If you're looking, it ain't cooking. The things that I do for you.
Of course, it's been like 35, 40 degrees out, and today I'm smoking some food, and it's 10. It's 10 degrees.
Through the power of editing, it has been about 1.5 hours, and I'm back out to grab my burnt ends. They're at about 170 degrees now. My dog wanted to play. I needed to pull my burnt ends. We ended up playing afterwards. Don't worry, I didn't break her heart. We're going to take them inside and get them prepared to truly become meat candy. First things first, we're going to lay down some foil so that way we can get them off the wire rack. We're going to create kind of like a boat so that way we can put a little bit of honey, a little bit of barbecue sauce, and a little bit more KC combo onto these chunks of meat. Like I said, this is where they truly become meat candy. This is where they're gonna baste in that sauce and that honey and that seasoning. This boat is almost going to steam them as well. This is where we get that amazing texture on burnt ends that fall apart. Beautiful texture where when you squeeze it, they just fall apart. It's such an amazing piece of barbecue. That's why a lot of people think that burnt ends are some of the best bite in all of barbecue. I did end up bumping my smoker up to 300 degrees for this last bit, just because it was so cold out. Once again, through the magic of editing, it's been about an hour since I put the burnt ends back on the smoker, and this is the amazing outcome that I got. Perfect texture. You get that barbecue sauce honey and its own juices down there. It just cuts apart so nicely. And we are going to cut it apart into much, much smaller cubes for that dip, for that texture of the dip. This is absolutely fantastic. Of course, I had to grab a couple bites, threw on some All-American directly on. This stuff was so good. Pull that dip out of the fridge and put in all of that burnt end goodness. Give it a nice stir. Make sure it's nice and well incorporated. I'm baking it in a cast iron because I like baking in cast iron, so I put it all in there and it fits just perfectly. We're doing 350 for about 20 minutes is what it ended up being. It was the perfect amount of time. Once again, I am an idiot and I forgot to hit start when I was videotaping me finishing this dip, but this is what it turned out to look like. It is absolutely delicious. Get out of here. This is insane.
The KC combo really comes through. I seasoned the top after I pulled it out of the oven just to get a nice caramelization on the outside with the sugars that are in KC combo. And I think that really did it. So sometimes when I make dips, there's some obvious things that you can use: mayo, cream cheese, sour cream. And you kind of got to base what you're making on what you use. A lot of barbecue dishes, it's instantly what you do is you use mayo. Mayo without a doubt. And it wasn't that I didn't want to use mayo. We were just using so many fatty, rich things that mayo would have just stacked on top of that. So by putting sour cream in this, absolute game changer. You get that sharpness that kind of cuts through all of the fatty, rich meat, the barbecue sauce. You get a nice little heat from the KC combo. And in my opinion, that's all you got for this Super Bowl. Look at that. And of course, the pretzel. We didn't have pretzel bites, so I just bought slider buns and rip them apart. It's that easy. Make this dip if you want to forget about what's going on during the game. Doesn't matter who you're cheering for. This dip is absolutely insane. Hit that like, share button. Hit the comment button. There's not a comment button, just comment. See what you can do with the Tailgate Foodie products. We got all three sauces. We got a seasoning in here. Have a fun Super Bowl. Have a safe Super Bowl. Have a couple 2-3 drinks for me. Have a good one. Let's see if I can juggle. That's all I got. But I don't know if you saw the Sauce Boss. Official sauce holder for the Tailgate Foodie. Fits perfectly right in there. You can take it wherever. It's awesome.